どうも、勝手に電力2.0で始めたいと思います。894. What is ASEAN Energy Outlook on electrification to reduce oil imports? Since 26, the ASEAN Energy Outlook AEO has become the primary source of energy information, analysis, and projection for the ASEAN region. It has created regularly updated regional energy outlooks and strategic reports on important thematic issues. In particular, the AEO reports shows the whether and how national and regional targets for the energy sector on topics like energy accessibility and affordability, energy efficiency, energy security, and environmental sustainability can be achieved, and what politics measures and technologies are needed to help meet those targets. What distinguishes the AEO from other energy outlooks is that it is built upon the strong foundation of data and modeling insights from the deep and durable cooperation, coordination, interaction, and integration between the ASEAN Center for Energy, ACE, and the 10 ASEAN member states, AMS. The AMS have provided much of the data upon which the AEO is based, and all modeling results are carefully vetted by the AMS to ensure they are realistic representations of local contexts and regional development plans. The resulting projection thus reflects the country's official expectations for future energy development. This approach creates a sense of ownership and understanding and helps increase the usefulness of the result for the region at large. How were AEO7 modeled? Recent editions of the AEO have adopted a new bottom-up modeling approach better suited for examining the implications of national and regional politics and providing a technology-rich picture of how ASEAN's energy systems will grow and change in the coming decades. This edition, the 70th ASEAN Energy Outlook AEO7, expands on that bottom-up modeling approach with improved and more detailed modeling conducted for the commercial and industrial sectors, allowing for more insights into how national and regional targets can be achieved, factoring in each member state's particular characteristics. AEO7 modeling structure and analysis, and the key assumption is first, and second, and demand analysis, and third, transformation analysis, fourth, main analysis, last, and secondary analysis. AEO7 projection illustrates four scenarios from 2021-2050, based on the historical data from 2005-2020. The degree of ambition escalated from the baseline scenario to APS, whilst the LCO scenario serves as an alternative scenario that considers all the viable technologies in the region in determining the power generation mix that would best meet the region's electricity demand, whilst satisfying the regional targets in the ASEAN Plan of Action for Energy Cooperation, APAC. This is four scenarios: baseline scenario, and AMS target scenario ATS, APAC target scenario APS, least cost optimization LCO. Baseline trends. AEO's baseline scenario examines trends in the absence of new politics. Key findings from the baseline scenario modeling include energy demand is expected to triple by 2050 from the 2020 level. Total final energy consumption, TFEC, is projected to reach 473.1 mTON by 2025, and 1,281 mTON by 2050. Fossil fuels are projected to continue to dominate the regional energy demand, with oil still make up the largest share of TFEC through 2050. Industry and transportation shares are projected to remain the largest energy consuming sectors. Their shares in TFEC will grow by 3.8% and 3.6% respectively. Cooking and cooling appliances will remain the largest energy consumption in the residential sector, making up about 82% of the sector's demand in 2050. Energy supply is expected to grow 4 times from 654 MTO in 2020 to 2,647 MTO in 2050. Oil, natural gas, and coal dominate the region's energy supply, accounting for about 88% of total primary energy supply (TPES) in 2050, leaving renewables at 11.9%. Renewable energy RE share is only 14.4%, falling short of the regional target. Without significant discoveries or additions to existing production infrastructure, and with the expected rate of utilization of fossil fuels, ASEAN is projected to become a net importer of natural gas by 2025 and coal by 2039. Installed power capacity reaches 959 gigawatt in 2050, increased threefold from the 2020 level. It consists primarily of coal 33%, natural gas 26%, and hydropower 21%, following the region's historical dispatch. Renewables in the 2020 power capacity amounted to 97.5 gigawatts. By 2025, the RE installed capacity will reach 34%. Despite fossil fuels remaining dominant, ASEAN is on track to achieve the regional target. Power generation is expected to increase threefold by 2050 from the 2020 level, reaching 3,388 terawatt-hour in that year. By 2050, ASEAN will generate 1.5 times from the 2025 level. Fossil fuels remain the largest share at 76% in 2020 and are projected to decline to 74% by 2025. The modeling of policy designed to help attain national and regional targets show that it is possible to mitigate many of the aforementioned adverse trends in energy demand. National efficiency measures and fuel shifting could significantly slow growth in TFEC. By incorporating national politics, the EMS target scenario ATS projects to achieve a 9.9% demand reduction versus the baseline scenario by 2025, with the region politics in the APEC target scenario APS further boosting this to 14.1% saving. By 2050, the saving will reach 39% for national politics and 53% once additional regionally focused measures are included. These savings are achieved through a range of measures, including promoting energy efficiency in electric technologies in the residential and commercial sectors, improvements in industrial processes, fuel economy, and electric vehicle EV in the transportation sector. Energy consumption by sector across scenario. To reach regional targets, various demand-driven policy interventions, specifically in transportation and industry sectors, are required to accelerate the current efforts. And the transport is a very big, very large. In the household sector, 5% annual increase in clean cooking coupled with increased electrification is needed. This could be achieved by using cleaner wood stoves in rural areas and electric induction stoves in 70% of urban households. In addition, an increased penetration of efficient air conditioning and refrigeration units by 6% to 100% is required by 2050. Cooking and air conditioning, refrigeration is very big share. In the transportation sector, alignment with the ASEAN ASEAN fuel economy roadmap will require a 5% annual improvement in the fuel economy of private vehicles up to 2030, and at least a 3% yearly improvement thereafter. In addition, a 2% annual increase in the share of buses in the transportation fleet is necessary. Attainment of EV development targets will also be crucial. Also, several member states have set promising targets and strategies for increasing EV uptake. National politics are projected to lead to an EV share of 2.5% of the passenger road transportation fleet by 2025 and 9% by 2050 in ATS. Thus, higher targets and additional politics are required to help meet these targets, coupled with established targets in some AMS that have not yet set EV development objectives. Significant fuel saving potential can be expected through attaining EV targets. Biofuel mandates and fuel economy improvement strategies to meet the regional target. Deploying more efficient electronic and hybrid vehicle reduces gasoline and diesel usage in passenger road transportation by about 72% and 59% respectively on average by 2050 versus the baseline scenario. Given the importance of the transportation sector and with petroleum product projected to remain the primary energy source in the sector, in the baseline scenario, energy efficiency and conservation politics will be important in helping to reduce the region's dependency on oil. Implementing the measures in the AMS scenario reduces the share of oil consumption in the transportation sector to 82% by 2050, and with the additional measures included in the APS, consumption further decreases to 72%. By that time, electricity will account for 8% of transportation energy demand, biofuels for 17%, and compressed natural gas for 2%. In the commercial sector, electricity will contribute the most with approximately 75% share, followed by oil 17% in 2050 based on historical trends. ASEAN's commercial sector is comprised of office, hospital, retail, hotel, and the other in the baseline scenario. The share of energy demand from each commercial subsector is constant over the period. It is estimated that 23% of commercial TFEC will be from office, followed by retail 22%, hospital 19%, hotel 18%, and the other 15% by 2050. There are significant reductions in all sectors in ATS and APS relative to the baseline scenario, with the largest decrease in office and retail. The energy intensity reduction is due to the attainment of nationally stated energy saving targets for the entire commercial sector and subsectors. The region needs to double energy saving efforts in the commercial sector as indicated in national politics. Being highly electrified, the commercial sector may achieve a higher energy saving potential through more efficient lighting, cooling, and appliances by implementing maps and electrical equipment labeling. The industry is another major energy consumption sector that remains highly reliant on coal, oil, and natural gas. In baseline scenario, energy demand for the industry may reach up to 544 mTOL by 2050 based. With the attainment of national E&C politics, this demand may be reduced by 35% in ATS. A doubling of energy saving efforts is required in this sector to achieve ASEAN's goals. Also, member states have started to set intensity reduction targets in this sector. Achieving those targets will be difficult due to the current porosity and often proprietary nature of data. This makes it challenging to conduct proper accounting, and third, to implement and then monitor sustainable energy savings programs. Efforts need to be stepped up to improve the data quality and ensure that energy saving can be properly overseen in the sector. Meanwhile, due to the lack of availability, not all countries have industrial subsectors disaggregated. The fastest growth of industrial energy demand will be in food, beverage, and tobacco (FBT), which will increase by 3% in 2050, as compared to the 2020 level. However, this industry branch will have only a fifth largest share of the industrial energy demand in 2050 after non-metallic mineral 23%, chemical, iron, steel, and mining. And the AO7 modeling shows that huge benefits of taking action in the industrial sector. With energy efficiency politics implemented in ATS and APS, electricity demand can be greatly reduced. With the implementation of measures, the electricity growth in the industrial sector can be kept to a more reasonable level by a factor of just 2.3 with national politics and of just 1.7 with the addition of regional politics by 2050, as compared to the 2020 level. Primary energy supply and import dependence. The AO7 modeling finds that national and regional politics, especially those focused on energy efficiency, can reduce the overall growth in TPS in 2050 from 2,647 mTOL in the baseline scenario to 2034 mTOL with the implementation of national politics and 1,766 mTOL with additional regional politics. With all national politics implemented, fossil fuel supply requirements are projected to be reduced by 11% in 2050 relative to the baseline scenario. AO7 modeling shows that ASEAN will not be able to meet its energy intensity reduction targets without politics to promote energy efficiency. ATS indicates that EMS could achieve a 29% reduction by 2025, but this still will not be enough to meet 32% goal set. But the APA AC. Hence, the implementation of stronger energy efficiency politics is deemed crucial. By 2050, the AO7 modeling indicates that ASEAN can potentially achieve an energy intensity reduction of 38% with national politics and 46% with the addition of regional politics. In terms of oil, ASEAN has been a net importer since before 2005. And the shift to renewable expected in the policy scenarios manifests in the reduced need for oil imports. National politics are expected to reduce oil imports by up to 26% by 2050 versus the baseline scenario. This figure is projected to reach a 34% reduction with the addition of regional politics. ASEAN energy imports exports balance and projections baseline scenarios. Oil and natural gas is very big. ASEAN is expected to become a net importer of natural gas by the mid-2020s and coal by the late 2030s. According to the baseline scenario, implemented national and regional politics only serve to delay the date when the region becomes a net importer of natural gas by 1 year. Installed power capacity and power generation. AO7 modeling highlights the importance of energy efficiency measures in helping to keep the growth in demand for electricity within reasonable limits. Without new politics, the baseline scenario projects electricity generation requirements to grow at an average rate of 4.3% per year. With national energy efficiency politics in place, the growth rate is reduced to a more achievable factor of 2.3 or 3.7% per year. With regional politics in place, the rate further declines to a factor of 1.9 or 3.2 per year. These relative reductions are particularly notable because they happen even as the region pursue politics to encourage the electrification of the transportation sector. ASEAN power generation by fuel across scenarios. The modern national and regional politics result in change to the mix of power plants built and dispatched in the coming 3 decades. Under ATS, 787 gigawatts of power plant capacity is required in 2050, compared to 958 gigawatts in the baseline scenario. By 2050, the mix of power plants in ATS is projected to be dominated by hydropower, 27% of capacity, and national gas, 25%, coal, 20%, and solar, 9%, with additional regional politics in place. And even lower 719 gigawatts of capacity is required. This reduction allows hydropower to increase its share to 35% of capacity, while other politics lead to a more prominent role for solar power, which increased its shares of capacity to 13%. Natural gas remains important, accounting for 23% of capacity, while coal decreases to just 10%. AO7 explores the implications of promoting least cost planning in the electric sector through the LCO scenario to achieve regional RE generation targets. This scenario foresees achieving a higher share of coal in total generating capacity in 2050, 23%, whereas the percentage of natural gas declines to 16% compared to ATS and APS. There is significant bioenergy growth, reaching a share of 11% in 2050, as compared to the 2020 value of 3%. Nuclear energy is also introduced in the region with 5 gigawatts deployed by 2050. It should be noted that the LCO scenario does not consider any pollution externality cost in its optimization approach. When these are included, the LCO scenario will produce different outcomes, with a clear preference for cleaner generating technologies like solar, wind, hydro, and geothermal. Modeling of the ASEAN power grid and battery and energy storage systems were also explored as a part of the LCO scenario, and the results show a high preference for building transmission lines to interconnect the following regions. Needs to be operational as early as 2025, cost-effective. Indonesia, Sumatra, and the Peninsula Malaysia. Batteries can be used to provide stored power during midday peak hours, overnight periods, and other times when solar and wind generation are reduced. Thus, they are projected to be crucial in enabling higher penetration of RE and maintaining the power grid stability. In the LCO scenario, the region is expected to require 26 gigawatts of battery capacity to store about 1,100 gigawatt hour of electricity by 2050. It's a map. ASEAN installed power capacity by fuel across scenarios. Coal and natural gas is very big. In terms of overall RE shares, as previously noted, existing politics are projected to be unable to meet the regional target of 23% RE in the TPES by 2025, aside from the above mentioned politics for electric generation. The AO's modeling finds that additional and or more stringent biofuel mandates at the national level will be required to meet the RE target. The challenges in achieving and maintaining RE targets underline the needs for fuel shifting strategies in the industrial, transportation, and other demand-side sector. 2025 APAC target is 23%. Power investment requirements. In the earlier years, 2021-2030, the annual power investment requirement varied from USD 17 billion in USD 13 billion. In the midterm, 2031 and 2040, half of the scenario followed a declining trend, reaching the highest value of USD 31 billion for the baseline scenario and the lowest value of USD 17 billion for the LCO scenario. In the long term, 2041-2050, as the region expands new builds to meet the higher energy demand, annual power investment ranges from USD 25 billion to USD 42 billion. Overall power investment needed throughout the entire period is USD 1,070 billion for the baseline scenario, with the expected capital requirement reduction resulting from demand-side management. It may only require USD 879 billion in ATS, USD 726 billion in APS. The ratio scenario requires just USD 582 billion, or about 80% of the APS. Our investment account for about 59% in ATS and 77% in APS of the total investment required in total for the power sector. In the LCO scenario, a notable addition to investment cost is nuclear energy, which may account for up to 2.9% of the power investment. Greenhouse gas emissions, job creation, and land use. Without new politics, ASEAN's GHG emissions, excluding from international transportation, are projected to reach 6,077 megaton CO2 per year in 2050, a 3.7-fold increase compared to 1,815 megaton CO2 in 2020. The expected population growth rate to 2050 corresponds to an annual rate of 8.5 tons CO2 per capita from ASEAN as a whole. Also, with large variation among the member states, this level is broadly comparable to current per capita rates of GHG emissions in the European Union region today. GHG emissions in the baseline scenario in 2050 are projected to come primarily from the power 58%, transportation 21%, and industrial 18% sectors. Hence, improvements in these sectors would considerably reduce ASEAN's overall emissions. AO7's model policy measures are projected to slow the rate increase in emissions significantly. Implementing national measures result in 2050 emissions being kept to 4,030 megaton CO2 in 2050. Enacting additional regional politics would result in the further decline to 2,966 megaton CO2 in 2050. However, the LCO scenario, which tends to favor coal-fired generation, result in over GHG emissions of 3,117 megaton CO2 in 2050. The social cost of these polluting emissions was evaluated using a set of externalities. In the baseline scenario, the cost of maintaining historical trends toward 2050 is calculated as USD 4,569 billion. Emission reduction in the ATS and APS bring the cost down to USD 2,481 billion and USD 1,804 billion, respectively, in 2050. The LCO scenario is estimated to have higher social cost of emissions as USD 1,849 billion. A strong renewable deployment in the APS is projected to provide up to 5.5 billion new jobs by 2050. About 77% of these would be involved in the construction, operation, and maintenance of baseload LE plants, including hydropower 67% and geothermal 10%. Meanwhile, solar power plants will be accounting for 19% of these new jobs. Job creation in the other scenario are significantly lower, 3.9 million for the baseline scenario, 4.6 million for ATS, and 3.2 million for the LCO scenario. Indonesian and ATS, 27%. Job addition dominated by Vietnam and Indonesia, 27%. AO7 also analyzes the land requirements to produce these biofuels. Biofuel is expected to be widely used as blending fuels in the transportation sector. analysis of the land area required to supply the increasing demand due to biofuel mandates. It indicates that up to 5.6 million ha of land for growing palm oil is required, with 3.2 million ha for sugar cane in the regional politics scenario. This value corresponded to about 2% of the total land area of Southeast Asia. The baseline scenario requires even greater land areas for biofuel production. Whereas the amount is slightly lower for the national politics scenario. Land use for the and biofuels production across the scenario. Sustainable biofuel production is crucial, especially in the water, energy, food, nexus, and land use context. It should also be noted AO7 does not explicitly model the agriculture and land use, nor the water system, which can be a useful improvement in understanding these intersectional relations. Bioenergy with carbon capture storage, which is more commonly applied bioenergy utilization for power or heat generation, can be an option to offset the emission caused by land use change due to biofuel. The summary table below provides a quick reference to some of AO7's key assumptions and modeling results, enabling easy comparison amongst 4 scenarios. This total final energy 3 times, 4 times, and RE is an reduce installed power capacity and 3 times, RE percent installed power capacity, it is the same. Electricity generation 3 times. Proposed sectors to be prioritized. AO7 is also complemented with elaboration of 6 emphasized energy sector considered essential to attaining secure and reliable energy amidst transition: grid integration, fossil fuels, industrial efficiency, renewable energy, financing energy transition, nuclear power. How to the region could improve. Navigating secure and resilient energy transition should be the theme of the region's energy system. All technology and policy options should be assessed in the comprehensive way, including efficiency, resources, and materials availability and end-of-life management. That's all. Thank you.